Welcome to Road to Recovery Webinar 3. In this Law Society of Ireland webinar, Mary Clunan and Justin Purcell talk about digital marketing post-Covid-19.
It's just gone 1 o'clock, so you're all very welcome to this call. If you'd like to ask us any questions as we go along, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Just put them up on the chat, and we're going to ask a few polls as we go along as well. But Mary, would you like to take it away?
Let's go, and that's brilliant, Justin. So as I said, today we have a lot of slides. I'm going to fire through them very quickly. Justin and the team will send them out afterwards, and there'll be a handout going out afterwards about 20 Google tools to use for business owners. So we're going to try and keep it as practical as we can. So I'm going to just hop straight in, Justin, to the next slide, if that's okay. We are just going to talk about websites. So again, I've had a good few queries about this lately, and kind of what would a checklist look like if you're going to a website company. So the first and foremost thing I would say to you is go external, go to an external expert. I don't want you to kind of start changing gearboxes in your own cars, and neither else would I encourage you to do your own website yourself. So here's a very, very quick checklist to consider when you're going to your external website agency. Just to ask those questions and to make sure you're going to a team rather than an individual. I've heard horror stories about people just disappearing. So, and again, I'm not going to go through each of them, but a checklist for you to think about when you're going to external websites. And just the final thing I'd say on just websites externally is just be careful not to duplicate content. Google will blacklist you from a Google Analytics perspective or Google SEO. So make sure you don't duplicate content. So I often hear people are going to borrow content from other sites. Be very, very careful on that. So that's the external website list. On the next slide, Justin.
So Mary, can I just ask a question there? So I'm a practitioner at the moment. I'm thinking of setting up a website, or I have a website at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of a, like, if I do it myself, there's a whole lot of conflicting issues. And then if I use a third-party supplier, as we've just talked about here, there's some other issues there that I need to be careful about who I use. Is that kind of what you're...
That's really what I'm saying. So I would say to you, make sure you're working with somebody who knows professional services first and foremost, because this is a specialized game and you're not selling Mars bars. So make sure you work with somebody that knows professional services, and you're leveraging on their expertise and their ability to do things quickly for you rather than you having to do it yourself. When I say things like team, I've heard very large firms getting caught working with one individual who just literally disappears overnight and they can't make any changes to the website. So I suppose these are the couple of points I would say to you. Make sure you're ticking these boxes in some way when you're engaging with your external consultant to build your firm's website.
And maybe before you engage with somebody, it might be good to get a testimonial from a couple of other people who've been using them.
You definitely need somebody with professional service experience, and they'll be offering you testimonials if they've done this well elsewhere. So
just like taking on a new employee, really important that you do actually call these people up and ask them some of these questions.
Because I frequently say, I'm going to use my local guy. I know him from football. Unless he can tick these boxes, be really, really careful, because this is a serious asset you're creating for your practice. And you want it to last a while. Websites will only last 2 to 3 years at the moment, I'm afraid. It'll be constantly having to do updates, and keep an eye on your target audience as to what their requirements are when you're building your website. So your good website agency will be asking those hard questions of you, and they'll be guiding you and helping you through the process. So I would say, look, if you really have no website at the moment, and when I started my business, I had no website. I have to go on to the next slide there, Justin.
Sure.
If you're just literally putting your toe in the water and you're just not sure yet or not ready yet, you can do it yourself. And I'm going to give you a really, really quick internal list of checkpoints if you're going to do this yourself. Just wait for Justin to put up the slides, okay?
Whoops, I seem to have lost the run of it. Yeah, wrong way around. Yeah,
there you go. So there is a couple of websites. One, I've just listed 3 here. One is Wix. The other one is called Squarespace, or a WordPress site. You can create these websites yourself, and I'm giving you a very, very short list to think about that. I'll say it again, I really discourage practitioners from doing this themselves. I wouldn't go down and start servicing the car myself. Give it to somebody who knows what they're doing. It's really time consuming when you do it in-house. But if you're ready to do that, that's the way to go. When I started, I used a Wix website. I had that for 2 years. The business matured. I had different content to share with people, and I moved on to a WordPress template that was more robust. And this year I've moved on to a external website provider. It's a Storyblock website I'm using now, but it's an open source software website. It's a website that I can update myself. It's really easy to use. And they've done a number of other professional websites as well. So I'd really encourage you to go external, work with somebody who knows the space rather than doing it yourself.
And Tom's just making a comment there around is online. Will that lead to the end of the high street stores and high street solicitors? So how do we keep it local? So I think by having your own website, it's really important, one that you invest in.
I think it's a good point, because I don't think it's the end, but I definitely think your target audience are going to have a requirement for you to have a significant presence in a digital sense. So they expect you to have a website. They expect you to have good social media profiles. They expect frequent updates. And if you're not doing that, your competitor will be doing it. So I'll just say it's actually, it's just to a great degree, it's out of your control. It's all about what your target audience wants and what expertise you want to put out to your target audience. So I think it's not the end, but I definitely think your digital presence is a must really right now.
Very good. So I'll move on to the next slide and maybe launch it.
Just really quickly, the website. Just if we flick to the next one, this is a screenshot I took at the weekend of Wix. So again, these are various different templates that are available on most open source software websites. So Wix is one you can do yourself. And what you'll see here is I've literally put in finance and law and a business website. And so these are the first templates that have come up. When you're doing it yourself, you can change the pictures, the colors, the logos, the whole works yourself. Time consuming, but it can be done. So I just wanted to share that, Justin, really quickly, and I'll let you go on to the poll.
Okay, I'll just ask a quick poll. And the poll is topics of interest. So we'd just like to hear more from you out there as to what other topics you'd like to hear from about marketing and online presence, etc. So I'll launch that poll. So we'll just let that run now for a while. And Mary, if you want to keep going, I will.
Okay, we might fire ahead to the next slide.
Yeah.
I'm going to just talk briefly on social media. So social media is your mechanism for building communities kind of online. It's great for engagement with clients and prospects and sharing insights, expertise, and good for recruitment traditionally as well. I've just given you 5 quick points here to consider to ensure that if you're engaging in, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it happens to be, these are kind of for the first 5 points are kind of important for practices to think about. So you should have a really great profile yourself with your expertise listed, lots of content and full contact details, because I seldom see that, full contact details, office address, website address, phone number, the works. Whether it's a firm website, firm page on LinkedIn or your own personal profile, those points hold strong. Use really good quality images. If you have a smartphone and you can take the good shots, super. But there's lots of websites available where you can get images, either buy them or there's going to be a list shortly for website images or quality images that are free. The other thing I'll say to you is video is critically important for your online profile. I've noticed myself, I've done loads of tests in the last couple of months around video. If I put out a post with just text, it'll get some engagement. If I put out a post with an image, it gets a little bit more engagement. But if I put out a post with a little video, it gets phenomenal engagement. And I'm seeing that right across the board. So I'd really encourage you to think about using video. And I'm going to show you a tool in shortly that will let you dip your toe into water and experiment a little bit on video without getting the big camera crew in. Just to think about using hashtags and, very importantly, tagging. So this is the @ symbol. So you can tag in somebody else's profile when you're doing an update, particularly on LinkedIn or Twitter. Very, very useful to make sure that that post is appearing to individuals' feed that is not yours, if you like. So if I'm tagging Justin in, Justin knows, he can see that I've tagged him in, and his audience will see that when it'll appear in his feed. So it widens your engagement. So frequency of post is really important, and getting your team involved. It's not just you. You need a wider engagement from a team. Just quick notes on the various different platforms. I see firms using every single platform that are out there at the moment. I even had a firm last week starting to use TikTok. So I would say to you, if you're just dipping your toe in the water, you should have, if you're a professional services individual, you must have a profile on LinkedIn. If somebody's coming, a new client is coming into you next week, they will Google your name in most likelihood, and they will find you on LinkedIn first and foremost, and then your website. So really important you have a good profile on LinkedIn. And what I'd say to you is the other platforms, it's up to you. Where is your target audience? And then think about what platforms you should be on.
So there's a danger, Mary, that you could go too wide and
Yeah.
become distracted and have no concentration of message, or you
Absolutely.
concentrate on maybe Twitter and LinkedIn, and just to reinforce using the @ and tagging other people and using names in LinkedIn increase.
Yes. And to be clever about when you're posting on LinkedIn. So the most LinkedIn is most visited on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from kind of 11 o'clock onwards. So, you know, putting a post up on a Friday night as you're finishing is probably not going to get the same traction because it'll get lost in all of the content that's put up over the weekend. So I would say Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 11 o'clock on, and not too late in the day, because LinkedIn is frequently, it reaches peak engagement around lunchtime on those days. But yeah,
so it's important to be continually adding content, maybe once or twice a week, or daily, or.
What I say to individuals that are starting, if you're starting and you're not sure where to go with it, put a note in your diary on a Tuesday morning to do something on LinkedIn, whether it's building connections, doing a post, and do that every week until you create a habit in yourself to be checking in to do it. But at a minimum once a week, to be getting some kind of engagement out there to keep your profile out there. Because I know when I get a call from a prospect and they ring me, I will Google them on LinkedIn. So it creates an impression really, really quickly as to whether you're active or expert in a particular space or you're just not using it. So you're never not communicating. So being not on these platforms is sending a message in itself. I would say good website and LinkedIn are a must, and everything else comes back to whether you have the resources to engage with them and keep them worked well for your practice.
Okay. And how about Facebook? Is Facebook as important as Twitter and LinkedIn?
I find personally, I'm seeing some practices getting good traction with Facebook if they're community-based or in a regional capacity, that they're tagging in local businesses and they're having engagement in the community at a regional level. So sometimes that works quite well. I've seen a few clients as well in the South boosting posts very effectively on Facebook. It's not for everybody and it is time consuming, but it certainly will work. Some practices are having great success in it, but like everything we're doing here, it really comes down to really good focus and good content going out there, well-written content, visual, video, all of the points we kind of discussed earlier on. Twitter is again used fairly widely. It's declining though in the last number of years. It's not as popular as some of the other platforms. But having said that, I myself use Twitter. I don't think I've ever won a piece of business via Twitter, whereas every time I post something on LinkedIn, I get another piece of engagement directly off it. And I would think that a lot of practitioners will be in the same boat as me on that. So LinkedIn, in my experience, is the most effective by a long way. You might fire ahead.
I might just show up the poll there. So that's very interesting. Thanks everybody for participating. But you can see that small practice PR is a big area that we look at. So we'll bring back some speakers on that in the future. So.
It's really important. Good stuff. I'm just going to share with you kind of a slide. Just if images is usually the bane of people's lives, or where do I get an image? So on the next slide, Justin, we have a couple of links. These are the first three there are free images. I like Unsplash myself a lot. There's kind of different kind of images out there. There's nothing worse than seeing very stocky type of images being used. So be brave on your images. And if you're doing your website, it would be important to spend a few quid. I don't have to spend a fortune, but getting a photographer in to get some shots of the team, the office, getting some sense of engagement. So it's important to have visuals there. We're visual animals, majority of us are anyway. So free images available, Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay, and then you can purchase images off the other ones. But I'm going to move on to the next slide fairly quickly, Justin, because this is where there's video and this is where it's really at. So I'm going to share with you a little tool. If anybody kind of is connected to me or follows me on social media, they'll see I use videos a good bit from this particular site that a colleague of mine told me about a few years ago called Lumen 5. And to be perfectly honest, you can actually make a video on this in minutes. It's really, really straightforward. So when I was making the video talking about today's session, the next slide, Justin, will show us how easy this can be. So I'm just conscious of time, so I don't want to start doing links. But if you log on to the Lumen 5 website, you'll see that's the logo for it up there. If you pop into it, it'll give you a couple of options for creating a video. If you use Story, you can actually just pop in your text. So I popped in this text because I felt this is what was related to today's activity. And literally Lumen 5 will go off and find you video images that are appropriate to that text. It's very, very straightforward. If I can do it now, anybody can do it. So it's literally just pop in your text here and ask it to go off and create. It will come back with images that Lumen 5 feels that are appropriate to the message that you have. Sometimes they're not, to be honest. Like I think this slide was a very techie kind of slide, and I went, no, I want to find something that represents social media to really give a sense of digital media or social media overall for digital marketing for the space that I'm in. Just if we just move on to the next slide.
Sure. And where is this just used, this video content that I create? Is it?
So what you can do with it, you can do loads of things with it. So you can, Lumen 5 is a free platform first and foremost. You can use it on your social media channels. You can pop it in with a post. And if anybody wants to have a check out mine, they'll see that I've popped in this video lately with my posts. So you can pop it into your posts, attach it to your post. You can download the video once you create it. You can put it onto your website. So you can put it on all of your various different social media channels. So I've used this on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Facebook. And I haven't actually put it onto my website yet, but I will. So it's a very handy piece of content. It's visually engaging. You didn't have to get a camera crew in. The one thing I've learned about videos in the last number of years is videos are seldom watched to the end. So it's good engaging content in the outset is really, really important. And videos should be very, very short. So we're talking about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, absolute max. Because unfortunately, as a human race at the moment, we have a very, very poor attention span. So we respond to moving visuals if the words are engaging or if the visual is engaging, and we stay with it then. So it's a very handy tool. I'm actually using the free version of it because in my own experience, I found in other firms that video is stopped about 20 seconds in usually. People move on to the next thing, no matter how good the video is. So at the end of the free version of this software, it will come up with the logo for Lumen 5. In my experience, the free version is working fine at the moment. I may move on to the other one later on, but it's a good one for practitioners to experiment with. And it's a handy little tool just to see how, just try it with a couple of social media posts. You'd be surprised at what kind of engagement you get compared to just an image or no image at all.
Yeah, I think it really brings alive any post. It makes it stand out way above text or picture images. So really I think video is getting a huge amount more traction going into the future. And this tool seems so simple to use.
It is so, and like honestly, there's other tools out there. I'm not, you'd swear I was on commission for Lumen 5. I'm not. There is other tools out there. A lot of them are subscription based. So, people just, want to find quick, easy, handy tools. I find this so easy to use. And I see lots of other practices starting to use it now as well lately. They're cute, clever little videos. So the important thing about video is to make sure you have good descriptors in around your video, because Google, as they say, is blind with regard to visual images. It can only read text. So having good context around, good descriptors in of your video is really, really important. Whereas the video itself is for the humans, for engagement, and the good descriptor text is for Google to make sure it's found. Might move on if that's okay, Keith, or sorry, Justin, and sure. I will just start talking about Google tools. Great stuff. Now we have a handout created for you. There's a handout of 25 tools for business owners. And to be honest, when I had a look at them, there's probably 20 in there that practices could use right out of the gate. So Google is the most used search engine platform, and Google will rank your website, with regard to search engine optimization. So you'll see the acronym SEO used a lot. So we're just going to talk about some factors that influence SEO. And we're just going to talk about these 3 tools that are there. There are lots and lots more. There's Google Analytics, Google Mail, loads of other topics that Google, loads of other tools that Google provide. But unfortunately, we don't have time to go through them all. So I'm going to fly through these. So Justin, we might just go on to the first one, which is a Google business listing. And
just a quick question there for Jared about Lumen 5 free account is including a watermark on the video, but he doesn't see it on this video. Any thought?
No, there isn't a watermark on the video. There might be a watermark on some of the images that you put on that aren't free, but there's a load of images there that are free. But there's you'll see what at the end of it, Lumen 5 will pop up its own brand at the end of it if you're not using a subscription-based product. Okay.
That answered the question.
So, again, we're getting tight on time. I'm conscious, but I just want to show you this really quickly. When you're using Google tools, and they're free, so you should be using them, Google will rank your website presence a little bit higher. So what I'm going to just share with you here is this is just a printout of the dashboard for Google My Business from the Marketing Clever position. You'll see the address mapped in there, etc., etc. So there's a couple of things that are important on this, and I suppose I'm just going to go through it fairly quickly. The one point here is, you'll see me circling this, is the reviews section. So I'm going to show you how you can encourage reviews to your practice once it's mapped in. So when you get your business mapped into Google, you usually have to log into your Google account, create your Google My Business account, and Google will send you a postcard so you can verify your address, because there is controls around this. So that postcard went to the address for the office in Bagot Street. I received that, and then I put the verification code into the Google My Business account. So really important that you do that so you have a Google presence. So when Google it likes you using its tools. Its tools are free and they're really useful. You'll get insight from the tools you have. But the reviews here that I'm just circling here, there's 10 reviews here. What we're finding when I'm talking to kind of very, very expert SEO individuals, that this plays a huge factor in your search engine optimization. So getting reviews is really, really important for your practice to make sure that you're found over your competitor. And I'm going to just share with you some little bit of text as to how to do that. We just hop on to the next slide, Justin. So, and again, just the other thing on just Google My Business, think about Google My Business once it's verified as another social media platform for you, because the second item here on the agenda is an item called posts. And this will allow you put out content the same way that you would on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever it happens to be. So I've just literally taken this as an example. You can actually post an event on Google as well if you want. So I posted an event the other day on this. This is just literally an update, a snap of the screen that I took, and just seconds after it went up. Video is there, content around it. This is very useful to you, and a little link button there so you can pop back into the Law Society's hub to register for the course. It is really, really useful to you. It's important to use Google tools as much as you can because it influences your search engine optimization. And what I'm finding, even recently during the pandemic, Google took a notion, for whatever reason, well, for logical reasons, I suppose, to mark all businesses as temporarily closed. So just if you Google a hairdresser at the moment, you'll see that they're all marked as temporary closed unless they've gone in and made that change themselves. So just make sure that if your practice is mapped into Google, that it's marked as open, and you can change it very, very simply. Really, really straightforward to change it. But just, it's an influencing factor. Usually what I would say to people is if we move on to the next slide, Justin.
Sure. Just a question there from Morris. He's asking, is it difficult to change website provider? I got my website set up by a good reputable firm, but since set up, have found that the service afterwards is poor. Yeah. How difficult is that? That goes back to the original thing we were talking about.
Yeah, what I would say to you guys, if you're finding it difficult to make changes to your website, or you're not finding them that responsive, it's very, very, you can have the conversation with them. It's very, very difficult. I've had that several times with clients. It's a constant issue. To be honest, there's only one or two agencies that I'd work with now that I know are really, really strong on service and produce really good websites, because I've seen the pain that other firms have gone through. It's not that difficult to change a website. What I'd say to you is it's a keen market at the moment as well. Go chat to providers, and if you want to contact me afterwards, I'll give you a couple of recommendations, but go chat to providers and see what they can do for you, because if now's the time.
Okay, thanks Mary. I know we're getting tight enough for time now, so by the very nature of the subject matter, it may be hard to get all the way to the end.
That's so okay. Well, look,
we'll do our best. Yeah,
we're just
run another poll if that's all right.
Sure.
Around your website, is a very, very simple poll, but just to get the feeling from people as to whether they're happy or unhappy about their current website. So will I move on to the next slide?
Yeah, actually, if you skip the next slide, actually, we'll just look at this really, really quickly. Again, when you have your Google My Business set up, it allows you to use mapping, Google Mapping. And this is really important for your target audience, because no more than, if I'm driving to see Justin tomorrow, I'm going to be popping in Blackhall Place there so I can get an indication of what the traffic is like, hopefully it's light, and all that kind of good stuff. So this is a really frequently used tool. It's important to make sure that you have your logo up on this and add a few photographs to it. It links back to your Google Business listing, so they all kind of string together. But just make sure that it is there and it looks well. Search it from your own point of view when you're not logged in, and make sure that it looks well. Just we'll fire on to the next slide. Actually, I'm going to skip this one. We talked a bit about it already. Reviews, as I mentioned already, are really, really important for search engine optimization. So what I would encourage you to think about is reminding your clients, and you'll know yourself what clients that you can ask this of, but remind your clients or encourage your clients or ask your clients nicely if they wouldn't mind leaving a review for you. So I'm just going to share this, literally a tiny little bit of text. This is auto-generated from Google. Marketing Clever Limited would like your feedback. Post a review on our profile, and the link is there. So you can soften that up a little bit. That's completely just auto-generated. So I'd be saying things like, Marketing Clever would love to have your feedback. Really appreciate, working very hard in our business at the moment. Please leave a review on our profile, and here's the link, and I really appreciate it. So it's that kind of language. And what I'd say to you as well is, if you do get the review onto your Google website, or sorry, Google business listing, that's a review that you can also use on your website when you get there. So reviews are really important for a couple of reasons. They provide evidence of your expertise and good service, and it gives you a sense of the other organizations or businesses or people you've worked with. And it really, it's very, very useful to you. And from a search engine point of view, it's very, very important for search engine optimization, for search to be found. Now, again, we're only scratching the surface here with regard to SEO, but I'm just sharing with you some elements that are influential.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. And I know we're tight for time, and the chat is saying, could we not speak longer?
Well, good.
Well, so big appreciation to you for trying to stuff what is a massive area into just a couple of into 30 minutes. Yeah.
What I would say to you guys is, don't try to do this yourself. Talk to somebody who is an expert in this space. But what we're trying to create here is mechanisms for you to have good dialogue and ask the right questions when you're talking to somebody that's providing this service for you, because it is around understanding what you want and understanding what you need for your practice. Okay.
So just a quick poll there, it's showing that 58% of you are unhappy with your website, which is kind of interesting. So.
Okay. What I would say to you on website is, again, when you're happy with your website, just there's various different sites available for you to do a quick speed test on your website. So speed is really important when it comes to search engine optimization and being found. And like from professional services, search has changed a bit over the last number of years. When I kind of started in professional services, it was a case of having the right content there for when people landed, that they'd find it. It's a competitive space now. There's an awful lot of firms doing this really, really well. So just do a quick speed test on your site as well, just so you have a real sense of what's out there. Again, this is just an outline for you. What I would say to you guys is, usually when I talk to a client, they say, oh God, Mary, I don't know what content to put up there. I don't even know where to start. So I'm just going to share with you a couple of things. So create some kind of a document that captures a list of potential subjects that you would write about, and you can flesh it out then over time. So create a little list of subjects. You can worry about allocate when it's going to happen, who's going to do it, and the text a little bit later on. But that's a good place to start. Start with a list of subjects that you want to write some content about, or you feel it's appropriate. And I suppose that's a really, really important one. One of the tools that I see a couple of clients using well with me is a tool called Google Keep. Again, I'm not on commission from Google, but I just love some of the Google tools. They're so handy and robust. So Google Keep, that's a little symbol of it there. Really, really handy to use to capture your list of content, share it with your colleagues, to get a document created that is a list, and let people add to it, because loads of other people have ideas as well. So build a good list of subjects. What I would say to you as well is, think about using Google News Alerts. It's an underused tool in professional services as I see it. So if you pop into Google News, it will allow you search for a topic. So if you were, say, a medical negligence expert, or whatever you are, you can put that topic in, or put search terms into Google News to see what the latest content that has been written about the topic in Ireland, and review it. And if it's appropriate, you can send it around or circulate it. And if it's not, you just ignore it. But it's just to give you a source to consider, to start kind of juices flowing on content overall. And where would you start? Justin, any other polls?
I have another poll for you, but I'm getting a lot of very popular or very good feedback around the content on your presentation. So they're definitely happy out there. A thought from Michelle around people adding the website, the small practitioner logo, or the Law Society logo onto their website. It's available lawsociety.ie/member logo. So people will be encouraged to use that.
it's an ideal one, because it's what you need when somebody lands on your website. You need to give them flags of credibility, so that they feel that they're on the right place. So it's a really, really important and useful tool for you.
Okay, very good. So I think we'll move on to the final slide. I think we're just slightly coming up to some useful tools there, or resources, and I know we're going to share the slides with people later.
So what I would say is there's great resources available, obviously, from the Law Society, and they're linked here, and they'll be linked on the handouts as they go out. What I would say to you is constantly think about your online profile overall, just to kind of really sum up. What we've shared today is really just kind of content and prompts for you to have good, robust conversations with providers in the marketplace. Kick it around well. But what I would say to you, as what was said to me by my other half when I was starting my own kind of website journey and setting up my website, get your website present. If you don't have one, you should have one. Even if it's a one-page website from Wix, just get something out there, because you just want to put your best foot and best face out to market, particularly now, because after the time we've gone through with us all being forced online to do everything, that behavior is unlikely to change. So really, really think about that and kind of get focus on it.
Okay.
Justin, back to you.
Thanks, Mary. I just put up there a list of the future webinars that we're having at 1 o'clock next Wednesday. We're having practitioner experience of developing a website. So somebody's going to come up with a website. Michael Bonan is going to show us his website and how he took all of the brilliant ideas from Mary and has kind of tried to put them into his website, and then how it works for him with regards to getting business. So hopefully you'll join us for that next week. And the following week, we're looking at exploiting new technologies. And then the following week, we're going to look at employment issues post-COVID-19. So, but just a big thank you to Mary for helping us out over the last 3 weeks to give us really informative, useful, practical tips. So thank you very much. I'll just show you a result of the last poll there. So 21% were very satisfied, and 79% were very satisfied. So,
right.
So that's great. And there was I'll just share the results with the group there. Can you see that? Not yet. Oh. See it now. So, wow, they're great statistics. So the statistics speak for themselves. 23% satisfied and 77% dissatisfied, or very satisfied, excuse me. So, Mary, thanks a million for your help. Thanks for talking to you. We'll be sending out the slides later. If anybody needs to get in contact with Mary, their contact details are there. My own are there as well. We're also looking for companies or practices who are interested in participating in a case study with us, for us to do a review of their website or their practice, and then share the results with the rest of the group. So we look forward to speaking with you all next week at 1 o'clock. Mary, thank you very much again. It's been a pleasure talking to you. So.
Thanks, Justin. Mind yourself.